What's going on, guys? LCS Week 2 finished, and I'm going to do a little recap on this because Week 3 is coming up real fast because we have the Esports World Cup in like 1 week. FlyQuest and Team Liquid will be going off to that. So let's start off with the things that I got right. Team Liquid 2-0 Shopify. That was a guaranteed easy bet. Why? Shopify are terrible. Fake God, he's not great. Bad champ pool, and yeah, even when he gets like good counter picks, like meta counter picks, he can't perform. That's how it was in week 1 against us. You know, he had 2 Rumble games into 2 Skarner games, and don't get me wrong, like there are top end players who are winning as the Skarner side or doing better on the Skarner side, but specifically for him, you know, he was up like 20 CS. But his Rumble ultis and his just general play outside of lane, not good. Tomio, he's been okay. You know, he's a rookie jungler. And at the end of the day, I think the main thing to note for him is just that he's not on a good team. Like, he's not the caliber of player who can just slot in and will just do the right thing often and be able to ignore the bad signs that are happening in the game. And there definitely are a lot of bad signs happening in the game. And he can't just get away with some of the flips and things he was doing in NACL compared to what he has now. Also in NACL, he had a much better team to the competition level. So that was also better for him. So yeah, not a great start in terms of just like, well, for him, both playing on a weaker team and then also just individually, you know, he's just been okay, not like incredible. And naturally for Team Liquid, they are a great squad. You know, coming off MSI, they're still not at peak form by any means, but they didn't lose as much of their edge compared to FlyQuest. So yeah, they're doing great. FlyQuest was Energy. I had this as a 70-30. Now I'm kind of glad I actually put this as like a 70-30 because Energy did take a game off them. And that's mostly because FlyQuest did show signs of just some weird plays and things were just not as clean as they usually can be. And one issue that is popping up a little bit is that unfortunately for them, you know, Quad Jensen right now, and I don't think this should be like the biggest surprise. Like, it's the start of the split, right? Like, you know, I don't know if you should assume that Quad was just going to be better than Jensen instantly. Also, keep in mind, this guy is not a rookie. Like, I hope people realize this. He's not a rookie. He played in LCK for basically 1 year. Like, he had 2 splits in LCK, so he basically had a full year into that. And yeah, he's not a rookie, okay? But right now, Jensen's definitely playing better than him. And Quad, like, you know, the young game for Palafox, and I would say overall this series, Palafox actually played better, same with Hui. And Palafox is young. Yeah, he actually did pretty well. Like, he even killed, it was almost essentially a solo kill on Quad's Triss, which should never happen, by the way, but it did. And, you know, there'll be other moments where Quad's is kind of making a weird play. Like, he tried to do the insect play with Tristana, and that went poorly. And it wasn't all bad, though. And that's one thing to note. It's not like his week 1 performance versus Cloud9 showed that he was just all bad. Like, he still had his moments in that series, and he still had his moments in this series where he was actually just solo killing Palafox in 1v1s in the later stages of the game because Palafox just did not know the damage, like completely underestimated. But this was definitely a more even matchup in mid. Dokla still looks terrible, and Bwipo kind of just had a great time, you know, especially in the Skarner game. That was rough. Contracts looked better. FBI looked fine. He just kind of did his job. The FlyQuest bot lane moment happened in game 2, which was pretty unfortunate. But they still looked... Busio still looked pretty reasonable. I think Busio kind of continued off where he did well in week 1 to week 2. So all in all, you know, I felt like this was probably mostly correct 70-30 because even though they're struggling members on Energy, they did have players rise to the occasion and actually do better. And even though I would say FlyQuest was kind of inting themselves in game 2, which gave Energy a good edge, especially because they got absolutely screwed in the opener where Karthus just did blue into Contrax's bot side. Unknown, because he had Blippo check the top jungle, and that was enough knowledge for him to go for that. And like, if they did not get the bot situation, like Energy was kind of screwed in that game. But FlyQuest duo moment, shit happens. And then FlyQuest pulls it back into the third game. So maybe I would say, yeah, this is probably like a 70-30. So this was correct. So Sunday's predictions, all correct. Now this is where things go really bad. So we'll start with 100 Thieves versus Dig. I said this was about a 60-40 edge. I was still not 100% sure on where I think Dig should be. Because, yeah, they did show moments where they could compete versus Cloud9, but I saw that there was some pretty obvious errors in terms of how they were playing the mid late, especially with like how they move around. And that didn't seem as much of an issue. Sven continues to look pretty good coming into the LCS. Like, he is definitely ready to play. Jensen, again, continuing to look as you would expect, but I also think there's a little bit of fire underneath him because of what happened with FlyQuest. And of course, a lot of people talk about the interviews that you saw from LCS with all of them like joking around and talking shit and stuff like that. And that was great. And yeah, it seems like the vibes are good over there. And that's that's a really good sign for them, because if they have a good team environment and they can push past all these bad scrim results, which, yeah, it seems like all of them are like, yeah, we're used to bad scrim results. Like, we know it's not like everything and we're going to still play out. That's actually kind of scary in a lot of ways. And yeah, Spica busted out the Morgana first time. It was okay, not incredible. And Licorice is, oh man, the first game with Licorice on Cassante versus the Camille, and there was a lot of moments where he just pulled that shit together, even though he got screwed because he was against Senna, who was laning in top lane for a little bit. I will admit that Licorice actually is playing better than I expected. Jensen's playing to what I expected. Spica is actually playing to what I expected as well. I don't think he's like doing the most incredible job or anything like that, but Sven doing better than I thought. Licorice definitely doing better than I thought. And Isles is, you know, fitting in. So this squad is, yeah, this squad is pretty good. I'm pretty impressed so far by what they're doing. 100 Thieves. We still have Quid doing, you know, a lot of different champ picks and things like that. They're still trying to make the AP junglers work and whatever. And even though, like, for instance, the first game, there should have been some clear issues Dig would have with how 100 Thieves comp is. You know, it's still that notion of wanting to take fights and making some poor timing situations, overforcing, trying to outplay just a little too much. And Dig held strong, and yeah, they beat them. So well done to them. I don't know if I want to say I'm correct on that, because I said a 60-40 favor in terms of 100 Thieves based on the first week. And maybe the end, that should have been a 55-45 favor for 100 Thieves, because I think you still got to give it to 100 Thieves. Like, they should have an edge versus Dig. But that edge was maybe too much. Cloud9 versus Immortals. No, this is the worst one, because this one was just complete, utter defeat. You know, this, I was good. This is good. This could have been better. And then this one was just dead ass wrong. And unfortunately, you know, I liked how we practiced going into this matchup. I think Cloud9 is not a very, they didn't seem very creative in their play or anything. They just play well around their timers, their moves, and just kind of go from there, right? And naturally, the first game, we just had a horrific draft. You know, now keep in mind, I don't draft for these guys. I work from home. And my job is mostly just to give them scouting notes, kind of like, okay, like, this is, you know, how they play. This is like their weaknesses, tendencies. These are things you can exploit, right? Yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, the draft was just very difficult. And if you get behind, which they did pretty early on, it's really hard. It's really hard to play the game. And yeah, Cloud9 just absolutely just smashed the shit out of us in the first game. Come the second game, you know, the draft is a bit better. Okay, a little more composed. You can play this out. And then Mascot just brutalized in mid. And some of these timers were like a little obvious at times. And the end result was like, yeah, mid lane fell apart real quick. And then the map was kind of hard to play because you're playing with Maokai, who like needs stability. And yeah, he just, I mean, in the end of the day, like, for instance, like in the first game, We probably needed to make more plays on mid with our champions and just accepting for what it is, because you have Ziggs Bard, right? You have a Maokai, like make some flash plays, kind of get the mid laners flash more, and then maybe you can use that as a focal point to play the game, but that didn't happen so much. In the second game, he was so behind. By the time he tried to help and do things, it's a little late. And yeah, the end result was Cloud9 pretty much played exactly how I thought they were going to play. The main difference is, yeah, they just had way more early game advantages than I expected them to have, and that made it really hard to come back. So that was a rough one. That was a really rough one. I did say Cloud9 was favored to win, but the end result was they should have been more favored to win for how it looked. And, you know, going into the next week, I'm not going to cover the matchups, but obviously, you know, if you're looking at the standings, like, Energy needs to get wins. Like, these guys need to get wins. These guys need to win ASAP, because if you go 0-3, going into week 4, you only have 4 more opportunities to get wins. That's rough. That's really rough. You don't want to be put in that position. We have to wait 2 weeks. 2 weeks of just, like, in your head, just like, I hope this is going to work out. I hope we're going to pick up the wins and everything. And then in those 2 weeks, you know, a lot of things can happen. You can get the energy to, you know, push back up and like, we're going to do this. We're going to get back. And some other teams, if they're down in the dumpster, sitting for 2 weeks like that, losing and nothing to do, dude, that can be really bad. That can turn out really bad. So, yeah, for these guys, this is a really rough situation. For us, you know, if we can go 2-1, then we're fine. Like 2-1 score is basically what you want going into week 4. That's the goal. If you're 3-0 and you just go, you literally probably just have to win one more game, go 4-3, and you have playoffs secured. So if you're the 3-0 teams like these guys, assuming they win their matchups, right? You're chilling. You're like you have so much opportunity to do whatever the hell you want. 2-1. Better. 1-2, it's okay. 0-3, holy shit, I think we're out of playoffs. So we'll see how we go, guys. Thanks for watching. See ya.